Well, hey, we're back. We're gonna be done, but the kid is down for quiet time. Wife is taking a nap, and my work for today involves research. So why not do some research together on a publicly available asset, which is Yu-kai Chou's, and I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, gamification framework, which he calls the Octalysis Complete Gamification Framework. Already started in a little bit. I'm just gonna dive in. If people have questions, you can ask them. We'll just keep learning. So, if something is engaging, and by the way, let me put this in chat. The Octalysis Gamification Framework by Yu-kai Chou. We'll put a link down there. We'll pin it. Unpin at the end of the stream. There we go. Right on. So, another element to note within Octalysis is the top core drives in the octagon are considered positive, the bottom is negative. So he's saying those top ones are for white hat, the bottom ones are for black hat. I think that, so forgive me, is a little black and white. I think you can use scarcity for a positive thing, but it is definitely, you gotta be really careful with it, right? If you're always doing something because you don't know what will happen next, you're constantly in fear of losing something, or because there are things you can't have, even though you would still be extremely motivated to take the actions, it can often leave a bad taste in your mouth. The problem with Zynga games, or Zynga, or however they pronounce it, I don't really care, according to the Octalysis framework, is that they've figured out how to do many black hat game techniques, which drive up revenue numbers from users, but it doesn't make users feel good. So when a user is finally able to leave the system, they will want to, because they don't feel like they're in control over themselves, just like gambling addiction. Keep in mind that just because something is black hat doesn't mean it's necessarily bad, good, hooray. These are just motivators, and they can be used for productive and healthy results or malice and manipulative ones. Many people voluntarily submit themselves to black hat gamification in order to go to the gym more often, eat healthily, or avoid hitting the snooze button every morning. A good gamification expert will consider all 8 core drives as a positive and productive activity so that everyone ends up happier and healthier. Cool. All right, when there was a link to gamification expert, you're just linking to yourself. Is this an SEO grab? Because that's hilarious. Octalysis Prime. What's Octalysis Prime? Join Octalysis Prime for free! It all starts on the OP Island. Octalysis Prime. OP. Alright. I see what you did there. Well done. Interesting. It's interesting seeing how he's gamified his own services and portfolio website and everything. I think we should watch all these as well. We should definitely do this. Cool. Well, I'm going to be joining that for sure. I have a lot of gamification contracts coming down the line, and it's something that I think I'd like to build out a whole lot more on the design side. So definitely need to dive into this more. How to apply Octalysis to actual systems. Now that we have the gamification framework laid out, the next step is to figure out how to utilize the framework. Generally, any good and engaging product or system will have at least one of the core drives listed above. Oh, I see. So it becomes oh, what kind of a chart is that? Do I always call it a polygon chart? I'm sure that's not what it's called. But a relational mapping of magnitude. Any good and engaging product or system will have at least one of the core drives listed above. The way to use Octalysis is to identify all the game mechanics that are used to appeal to each core drive and list it next to the core drive of the octagon. Afterwards, based on how strong these game mechanics are, each side of the octagon will expand or retract. The side crosses the inside octagon, then that side is extremely weak. The gamification expert needs to improve on that area. So, assuming he is using words intentionally and correctly, then he is saying, yes, you need all of these things. So the black hat ones are not bad. You need them to a certain degree. And there is an unhealthy amount of absence. However, try to make sure you're using them in a way that leads to healthier people. So, I get that. Okay. Right on. A few gamification examples with Octalysis. Here's an Octalysis I did for a few products online. And I okay, we can zoom in a little. So, for Facebook, they lack epic meaning and calling on Facebook for a cause. Sharing creative content, sentences, photos, videos, tons of Facebook games, instant feedback of friends liking, best way to create a cool profile. Now, this is interesting. I'm surprised that he's putting empowerment so high with these things instead of social influence, like friending, anchored conformity, social prodding, social treasure. Curious to hear what he thinks social treasure is. I would imagine that would be like liking, right? That's, that like is the treasure from your social group. Group quests, tout flags, envy cloud. Okay, interesting. Mystery box, glowing choice, refreshing content. Easter eggs. I'm curious what Easter eggs he feels there are in Facebook. Scarlet letter, sunk cost tragedy, scarcity, inner circles. Note, early Facebook has high scarcity score with certain universities only. Ownership, IKEA effect, photos, profiles, friends, memories, IKEA effect. Like you have built this yourself, so you like it more? Is that kind of the concept? Protector quest, I'm curious what that is. Recruiter burden, monitor attachment. I'm assuming there's probably a book that has all of these terms defined. And then accomplishment, completed profile, more friends, increased likes and comments, aura effect. Okay. Did I just... Oh, that wasn't a modal or a new tab. That was just... Okay. Candy Crush. Your meaning is very low, and I would kind of feel like that's the theme. It's what are you trying to accomplish? What is the point of this? Helping a weird monster solve problems, he's saying very low in meaning. But empowerment, you're constantly looking for better combos and planning boosters, and so that feels good. Social influence, lives, see friend progress. So you can like see your friend is at this level, and I've seen that in like the Conqueror app. Conqueror is a service that makes medals, like marathon medals, but they do it asynchronously. So you can buy into this program, and it'll be like run from one side of the earth to the other, and it just tracks how many miles that you have, and then it plots you on how far you have made it, and then at certain checkpoints it sends you medals, and on that map of look, you've walked 325 miles, that's this far along, you can see other people along the way and say like, your friend is here and this friend is over here. That's what I think of when I see that. Unpredictability, unpredictable gems and random combos. So yeah, that's the like, as the candies are falling from the top of the screen, they fall in a random order, kind of creating a different mental space of a new problem every time stuff falls. Avoidance, avoiding loss, fear of the chocolate, encroaching candy. And I have not honestly played Candy Crush, so I don't exactly know what chocolate does. But avoiding loss, I'm assuming it's just, I don't want to lose the level. Scarcity, always waiting for the right gems. Seeing levels ahead, countdown timer, and moves, balancing allergens. So scarcity and resources in terms of time, in terms of action economies, like in Baldur's Gate 3. Your action economy is a factor of scarcity. Dealing with your spell slots is scarcity. Waiting for the right gems in Candy Crush, saying I need this power up. I need to hold on to this little group of candies down here because I know I'm due for a power-up, and if it's this one power-up, then it'll blow everything open, so I need to not touch this side of the board and make sure I get stuff dropping on the other side. Ownership. Quest to accumulate more points and boosters. And accomplishments. Sweet. Delicious. Oh, those are like the pop-ups, I think, right? Where it's like, you got a 10 candy combo. It's not just a, combo counter, and it just goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's like 10, sweet, big chroming, as I call it, and then juice, I think is what other people would call it. Level tracks and boss stages. A boss saying, this is a big conflict. This is a thing that is now very difficult. And so if you beat that when they are telling you this is going to be hard, then you have accomplished, right? Okay. Need to take a screenshot of that and take a quick note for this project that I'm potentially going to be working on soon. Okay, right on. Go back. Then we've got LinkedIn, meaning being part of the future job economy, finding that dream job you are passionate about. So there's a decent amount of meaning there. Empowerment, very low. Better way to dress up your profile and build reputation in communities. Write content on LinkedIn. I'm assuming stuff that would make it more empowering, or maybe things that they have brought in since then, of like, you can now apply for jobs through LinkedIn. You can, recruit through LinkedIn. You can join these communities. You can contribute to these articles that we're doing. I think a really strong way would be like finding some way to bring the power to the employees, saying, not only this is the job title that I want, but creating an environment in which they're able to really demonstrate that that job is something they're capable of doing at a high capability level, and then getting that socialized to employers. And no, sorry, recommendations or skill tags are not that. Social influence, you do have the recommendations, endorsements, X people saw my profile. LinkedIn uses that a lot. Like, someone from this organization saw your profile. You can subscribe to Premium if you want to see who it was. Similar people that others view, and similarities. So it's not, that's an interesting point. It's not just who else is in relation to me. It's also saying who else is in relation to who these people are. Similar people that others view, it's like, this is now my competition, right? These are the people that I need to be beating in order to accomplish things, which is gross. But that's definitely social influence. Curiosity, how many people and how and who viewed my profile? What is my friend doing nowadays? That's the unpredictability. Anything with like a news feed, right, is going to inherently have that unpredictability built into it. And then we have avoidance, avoiding loss of career. And avoiding a bad reputation. Scarcity, want to see her profile upgrade to premium. That's true. So they lock capabilities behind that paywall. That is a form of scarcity. It's kind of gross, not very engaging, but it probably converts well, which is why they do it. ownership, your life, your job, making more money, accumulating more contacts, organizing your profile. That is another thing. I'm seeing that a lot. Ownership of like creating something. I think what he's saying is inherent to creation is the concept of ownership. That if someone creates it, they will have that feeling of ownership. I think that's an assumption that's not necessarily 100% of the time true, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was 95 to 99.99% true. Accomplishment, profile progress bar. X people saw your profile. And actually, you know what? That is what Tears of the Kingdom leaned into very heavily. That concept of ownership. That's interesting. So Tears of the Kingdom probably went really hard on empowerment. All of a sudden you can climb things. You can, go anywhere you want. There's no limits anywhere. You feel empowered, right? And unpredictability. What's around the next corner? What's over there? What's going to be around that mountain? I can do it. I can go there. What's that thing floating in the sky? I can get there someday. And then the accomplishment when you actually get there. That's all really powerful in the first Switch Legend of Zelda game, which was called not Tears of the Kingdom. I had tried so hard to remember that name, and then it's broken out the other one. Man, what was it called? Legend of Zelda. Breath of the Wild. There we go. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So Breath of the Wild, I think, leaned really hard into empowerment, accomplishment, unpredictability, and then and scarcity as well. You got your weapon constantly breaking, trying to avoid having your weapon breaking and everything, all that sort of stuff, right? Those were like the main features in that Zelda game that did not exist before. And then Tears of the Kingdom said, now let's keep all that and let's push out ownership and social influence super hard, right? Because now it's not just about ownership of like, I have this thing, but when I have this thing, I want to share this thing. When I have come up with something very creative, I am going to want to share it with other people. And not only will I want to share it, I'll want to know, how did everybody else do this? Because I felt this was very creative, but maybe it wasn't. That might be avoidance, right? I want to avoid feeling like I'm not as clever as I thought I was. So I'm going to go socialize this and see if that's true. And it could also be, I had to do this really weird thing that I thought was really funny and different. I wonder how other people did it, because I'm curious to see what other solutions were out there. So that's really interesting. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and skip these. I don't know what these other companies are. And this is just level 1, Octalysis. 20 years of gamification, study, and implementation resulted in a very robust framework that can become actionable towards driving higher user metrics. As people get more and more advanced in Octalysis, they can learn higher levels, up to 5 levels. There are only a handful of people in the world who know what level 4 and above are. Boy, you're driving that scarcity really hard, aren't you, sir? I don't love that. It also makes it feel like a cult. Not my favorite. I get what he's doing, though. It's a turn-off for me. It probably gets other people very fascinated and curious, which incorporates much more advanced design principles and in-depth analysis. So level 2 Octalysis is designed for all 4 phases. We have the discovery, onboarding, scaffolding, I'm a little unsure what is meant, and then endgame, I'm assuming you have accomplished your goal, and now how does this still fit in? Once level 1 is mastered, one can then apply it to level 2 Octalysis, where we try to optimize experience throughout all 4 phases of a player's journey. Discovery, why would people even want to start the journey? Okay, so this is not in typical product design, UX design terminology. This is within the context of a user coming to your thing and what is their experience upon approaching it all the way through to completely finishing it. So discovery, why would people even want to start the journey? Onboarding, how do you teach users the rules and tools to play the game? So let's map this out. I'm gonna take this screenshot and let me bring our whiteboard over. I've got about 10 more minutes before I've got to jump off. We'll get this mapped out and secure a better understanding. Boy, Figma can just take a while to load sometimes. Onboarding, how do you teach users the rules? Scaffolding, the regular journey of repeated actions towards a goal. Okay, so that's you are now in the gameplay loop. You are engaged in it. You are participating in it. And end game, how do you retain your veterans? How do you retain your veterans? Okay. Assuming retention is what is wanted. So to map this out, we've got discovery. Let's map this like a mobile app experience, because this is where like a lot of the onboarding, this is where a lot of gamification work is happening right now. It's in the mobile space. Scaffolding and endgame. So this would be like they are in the App Store, most likely is how they're discovering you. Or potentially an app, right? And then you have onboarding, where we have you're in the app now. So okay, so maybe that's the way to represent this. This is external, and then all of this stuff is internal. Pen, so internal, external. Okay. That kind of captures what I've been trying to get out of my head. Factoring the 4 phases of a player's journey. What is this URL? 4 phases of a player's journey. Okay. Cool. Let's keep in this summary page. Level 2 Octalysis, designed for all 4 phases. Getting a feel about what players feel across the journey. So it's interesting that they're saying you may want to have different product. Treat it like different products, right? Say, this phase needs to lean into these sides of gamification. This phase needs to lean into these sides of gamification. I'm curious, before we jump in, if he would advocate for a general trend. It wouldn't surprise me if he says you kind of want endgame to be all about this upper right corner. It's the intrinsic motivation white hat section, right? That wouldn't surprise me at all. And then like discovery would maybe be more on the lower side of things, where you're getting into like high in meaning and then maybe scarcity and unpredictability or something, right? And then kind of shift over time. Level 3 Octalysis. Once you master level 2 Octalysis, you can then push it 1 level higher to level 3 and factor in different player types. Okay, so you got your different personas, sure. So you can begin to see how different types of people are motivated at different stages of the experience. Sure, that makes sense. Also, I like what he's doing here of saying this is a broad categorization of people. This is where typical UX-based personas, in my opinion, fall very flat. Because in our pursuit to try and have it represent an individual and to build empathy for an individual, we go too far in that direction. And we say, Steve, the killer, is exactly who is using our app. When no, it's an amalgamation of various data points that we have and subjective intuition. And depending on how much data and intuition you've actually built up because of being able to be exposed to users, that persona, that individual may be more or less accurate. So I like this concept of saying, here's our broad type of people using this, and then these are goals, attitudes, and behaviors that this type of person tends to exhibit. I feel like that's going to communicate more healthily to a team, and then you can bring in the individuality in other ways. You can, you know, put pictures of people interacting with your thing in your deliverable artifacts. everyone should be observing users, like all that sort of stuff. There's a million ways to retain that human connection without over connecting on the persona. I don't care what they ate for breakfast as a child. Like, that's like, if you're an actor, you need to figure that stuff out, but that doesn't help me. And at worst, it misleads me. Okay. Factoring Bartle's player type. This way, the gamification designer can feel that there's something for everyone at every stage. I'm curious what Bartle's player type is. What is Bartle's player type? Richard Bartle classified players into 4 types based on their motivations and behaviors in multiplayer games. Killers, they want to win and defeat others. Achievers, they play to gain points, levels, and equipment. Explorers, they enjoy discovering new areas, dimensions, and secrets. And socializers, they want to interact with others and are interested in parts of the system to help them do this. Interesting. I don't know how bought in I am into that concept as like a totality, but at least on the surface, like the concept is interesting. Many fans of Octalysis over the years have helped to contribute to making the framework more available to the public. They made an Octalysis tool, which is not 100% perfect from a UX standpoint, but it has been a very useful tool for my clients and many people practicing Octalysis. Click here to check out the Octalysis tool. I'll happily do that. We've only got 4 minutes left. I want to get to the end of this page. We can pick this up at another time. The long journey to good gamification. As you can see, creating a rich gamified experience is much more than simply slapping on various game mechanics to existing products. It's a craft that requires a lot of analysis, thinking, testing, and adjusting. While there are 5 levels in total, level 1 is usually sufficient for the majority of companies trying to create a better designed gamified product and experience. Higher level Octalysis processes are there for organizations that are truly committed to making sure that they push their metrics in the right direction while improving the longevity of a gamified system. Many games are only popular for 3 to 8 months. The ones that have good endgame design can last decades or even centuries. I would imagine a good example of that would be chess, right? If the world adopts good gamification principles and focuses on what truly drives fun and motivation, then it is possible to see a day where there is no longer a divide between things people must do and the things they want to do. All people have to do is play all day. This way, the quality of life for everyone will be significantly higher, companies will perform better because people actually want to do the work, and society overall will become more productive. This is the world that I've dedicated my life to enabling. Video walkthrough of the 8 core drives, Octalysis. Cool. That's rad. I think this is a really interesting framework. This is not the only thing. As I've been tabbing through things, you probably observed, other, we've got Dr. Wei Tan's gamification and UX design. And then this lovely article published by UX Planet on gamification. So, and then I've got a couple of books coming in. So we'll probably be doing more of these book reading streams and stuff over time. I need to make sure I'm doing it in a way that does not compromise any sort of legality. I don't want to put anything that I've paid for up on the stream. I need to figure out how to do that. But I think this is really helpful. It's mostly helpful for me, I am sure, because I don't know if anyone has been watching today, but it's been incredibly helpful for me to be able to say, to explain it all aloud again and try and really cement it in my mind. Helps me to diversify my thoughts as well and get past abstract, oh yeah, I get that, and then get to concrete explaining it, and then no, I actually do understand it now. So that's it. Thanks so much. Appreciate y'all. See you next time.